Hey, Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. This is my second post today on the Chattanooga, Tennessee shooting hoax. Earlier, when I did the video, the shooter's name was not released, and now that it's released, I'm even more disgusted than I was the first time. Because this shooting comes on the day of Ramadan, and they make the shooter Islamic with the name Muhammad, and they mutilate the spelling of Muhammad as they do oh so often in the shooting hoaxes. If you go through the shooting hoaxes of the past 5 years and look at how often they've used the name Muhammad and all the different ways they spelled it, you'll absolutely laugh. And even today, they use two different spellings of Muhammad. All the networks have now settled on one spelling, but it started off with variations of the name. We'll go through that because it's important as well. Everything about this is coded, Truth Seeker. Let's get into it. If you have a second, pause and just look at these subheadlines and remind yourself what this mainstream media is all about. Negative programming, propaganda by the numbers. Look at this. Lasers pointed at 11 airliners. Of course 11. Remember on September 11th, it was Flight 11 to hit the big, giant World Trade Centers that look like huge 11s and the New York skyline when New York is the 11th state in order of statehood. Master number 11. These numerologist, Zionist, Masonic hoaxsters love it. So here's the mutilated name they decided to go with. Mohammod Youssuf Abdulazeez, a 24-year-old. 24 with that numerology of 6, a number they like. And when I saw this right away, just because, I'm decoding this crap all the time, the name Mohammod Youssuf, that is who is blamed for being the leader of Boko Haram, which is another complete hoax. Just look at this guy's date of birth, January 29th, 1970. Let me show you how this works here, Truth Seeker. In numerology, we can do the month plus the day plus the year in two parts like this, which sums to 119. This number, 911, 119, a major number of the hoaxsters. Why? Because they're Zionists. Their symbol, Star of David, has a gematria of 119. Remember, on September 11th, Israelis were in New Jersey filming the attacks. They returned to their country and admitted that they were here to document the event, showing you that people in Israel knew in advance. I don't know why that's not a bigger story. You think by now we would have gone to war with Israel over the fact that, in part, they hid knowledge about 9/11, which is more condemning than anything that could be accused of any country we've gone to war with in the post-9/11 era, if you're someone who takes issue with that. Remember, all the hijackers were from Saudi Arabia, the country that's our ally over there. It's just such a joke, even on the surface. Even within the realm of the knowledge presented in the mainstream, you can always see the joke. You don't need to see the gematria. You don't even need to think that deeply. You just need to read the information in front of you and go, okay, this doesn't make any sense. All the hijackers from Saudi Arabia, so let's go to war with Afghanistan. And then let's go to war with Iraq. And then, everywhere else. But we've never heard a peep about Saudi Arabia. That's because Saudi Arabia's might as well be the 51st state. So let's get on with the decoding. In the end, we'll come back and watch this mainstream propaganda. These headlines, 4 Marines killed. Some familiar numerology there, 132, 33 times 4. Earlier today, I showed all of the 33s coded into this. But this headline breaks down to 4 Marines killed having numerology of 84, like United States of America. This is programmed for the nation. This is the programming that instills in the minds of we'll call them those who are not awake, instills in their minds that Islam is a terrorist religion. And Islam is all about killing. There's so many people in the United States who believe that propaganda. And with regards to the word propaganda, it has gematria of 93, what this headline also breaks down to with the S exception. Propaganda, a 93 word. A few weeks ago, there was a shooting in Tunisia where 39 people were killed. Tunisia, another 93 gematria. On that date, there was also a terrorist act in France and Kuwait, other nations that participate in the hoaxes. In this case, the shooter said to be from Kuwait, Kuwaiti born. So his name, Truth Seeker, in Pythagorean gematria nets this number 122. And if you follow my blog, I've been talking about 122 and how common it's been in mainstream headlines right now. There were 122 passengers in the recent plane crash in Indonesia. Confederate flag has gematria of 122. Rachel Dolezal, and a whole lot more. It's been in sports. It's been in everything. His name in simple English gematria, however, sums to 311, like USA, the acronym when broken down, like UK, which also breaks down to 311. And what does this 311 represent? I think it represents the beast, as in the beast system which we live in. We know that these elites worship something that's not righteous, that we refer to as Satan. The beast system. And we know these people think of themselves as gods. Look at that, God of the earth. Notice this number is also the reflection of 113, the number they love to code so often in the mainstream media, which is so dishonest. Hold on, Truth Seeker, I gotta spell it right. You know, and they use green screens. On 9/11, I think we got a whole lot of green screen and we didn't even know it. Bava Kama A113 says a Jew can circumvent a Gentile by lying to them, and they code this into almost all their mainstream hoaxes. The reverse of 311. On the news I was watching tonight, they said he used to be Jewish. He grew up Jewish, converted to Islam, and now has become a terrorist, jihadist fundamentalist. Notice his shirt here is orange, the color they love to put their hoax, characters in so often. Why? Because it's the only color with 33 gematria, all part of the Masonic tribute. Almost every astronaut that's ever been to space has been a Freemason. What do astronauts wear? They wear orange. The FBI was there within minutes, Truth Seeker. I just talked about how the FBI was established once upon a time on July 26, 1908 as the Bureau of Investigation. They changed their name to FBI on March 22nd, 322, like Yale Skull and Bones. But this date they were established, Truth Seeker, has a numerology of 33, the number so often coded into the hoaxes. And in all these hoaxes, the FBI is present. Why? Because the FBI is controlling the whole spectrum. They're instigating the hoax. They're investigating it. They're presenting it. That's how all these years, all this nonsense goes on, this propaganda with no solution. Remember all the anthrax scares after 9/11? And then our own mainstream media, 2 months down the road, admitted it was anthrax from military bases. But nobody blinks an eye. They all just keep grinding, going to work, acting like everything's normal. And sadly, in a way, it is. How did we let this become normal? It needs to stop. So, Truth Seeker, this thing came on the day of Ramadan. Ramadan in gematria sums to 52, a number we're seeing a lot of. Pope has that gematria 52. Also, Ramadan is commonly referred to as Ramazan, which has the gematria of 74, like Muhammad, like Jesus, like cross, like Messiah, like pinnacle. Of the 50 states, only one has a gematria of 74. Oregon, the 33rd state, Jesus crucified on the cross at 33. The word gospel sums to 74. In the Quran, it's book 47 that first speaks of Muhammad. The point is these numbers are on both faiths, and they're almost the same religion, the one difference being that Muslims believe the story of Jesus. They just don't think he was the Son of God. They think he was another prophet, I think that's pretty much my interpretation too. I think that's a reasonable interpretation. Yet so many Christians cannot accept that. And we're living in a day and age where our mainstream media is trying to convince us that Islam is the violent religion, when in fact, throughout history, Islamic nations have been the least likely to participate in war. Look it up. If you think I'm wrong, look it up. Look at World War II, World War I. Almost all Christian nations. The police chief down in Chattanooga, Truth Seeker. Here, hold on. We're going to come back to him. This is what I want to show you first. We'll go to the police chief next. Earlier today, the headlines were 4 Marines dead instead of 4 Marines killed. They started off with dead. And I'll show you why this is interesting. They also started off with a different spelling of the shooter with Muhammad the traditional way, like it is in the Quran. His entire name was the same but spelled differently, and we'll show you how this connects. Remember, all year I've been saying everything connects to Lupercalia. All these hoaxes are synced up with Lupercalia, the festival on the 44th day of the year. From Lupercalia, February 13th, the 44th day of the year, to today, July 16th, is a span of 153 days. 4 Marines dead, the headline that CNN rolled with earlier, sums to 153. His original spelling like this, Mohammod Youssuf Abdulazeez, summed to 98, just like the word Lupercalia. And again, it came 153 days after Lupercalia. This is a military shooting. The word military has Pythagorean gematria 44, just like Lupercalia. So does the word kill in simple English. The spelling in simple English gematria, check it out, Truth Seeker. Muhammad 74, Youssef 110. Numbers we see a lot in hoaxes. On September 11th, the World Trade Centers were 110 stories tall, and they were on the 74th meridian. The name Osama bin Laden in gematria sums to 110. Put it all together, 224. Also, Truth Seeker, recently there was a shooting in South Carolina at 110 Calhoun Street, Calhoun having the gematria of 74. Everything about that story was coded 74. Important numbers in the hoaxes. There's that spelling earlier, Mohammod Youssuf Abdulazeez, compared with, later today, this. You see? It got goofier. Mohammod Youssuf Abdulazeez. And why is it that way? So that they can code their numbers. 311. Very important number. Reflection of 113. Josh Stoss noticed that another police officer on the TV was named Randy Jackson, who had name gematria of 135, kind of like this 153. The other police chief that I saw on TV was Fred Fletcher, and I noticed, Truth Seeker, that he was hired as the police chief a year ago. Look at this, July 24th, less than a year later, he's a major participant in this major hoax. And if you read about this guy, he cleaned out a lot of the police force and brought in new police. It almost makes me wonder if this is part of how the hoaxes are waged. You know, corrupt police departments lose their corrupt people, get even more corrupt people like this goon right here, Fred Flintstone. Or no, what's his name? Fred Fletcher. Fred Flintstone, whatever. They're both cartoon characters as far as I'm concerned. Look at on this patch too, 1852. Ramadan equals 52. Talking a lot about 52 this year. That's how long the villains have been in power for. But anyway, this guy cleaned up, fired a lot of police that he said were bad, corrupt, and then look at him. Comes in and wages hoaxes against the nation. What could be more treasonous? One of his big appointees was David Roddy. First name mentioned, has this gematria of 106 that's getting coded into everything, just like Tennessee. Tennessee has the gematria of 106. I've been showing how they coded this into the church shooting, how they coded it into that F-16 Cessna crash that landed in a plantation. It's just sick, Truth Seeker. They keep doing these numbers over and over. Kyle Busch won in NASCAR 2 of the last 3 weekends. He has the 106 name gematria. Like I've said since the beginning of this video blog, there's certain numbers they code all the time. There's certain numbers that seem like they're seasonal or for a short period of time and they get coded a lot heavy and then it disappears. I don't know the full meaning of it, but it's very obvious they do it from decoding it, you know? Those of you who expect me to reveal the whole thing, you have to realize that I learned this just from paying attention, applying the skill, and seeing what I found. I mean, this is a work in progress, what you're witnessing. Also, this guy's name, Chief David Roddy, has gematria of 137. 137 is the 33rd prime number. Remember, police equals 33. Freemasons, Scottish Rite have a highest degree of 33. Scottish Rite Freemasons control our police departments. Also, Truth Seeker, Chattanooga is a Zionist Masonic breeding ground. It has the 105 gematria, Zionism 105, Masonry 105. Obama sung that song recently, Amazing Grace, with the 105 gematria. The man who wrote the song has the August 4th birthday, just like Obama himself. All part of the sick joke of what's coming. And just look at it, Truth Seeker. All day they've just been showing this imagery and telling us that 4 Marines died. They haven't showed us any surveillance of the shooter in an age where there's cameras everywhere. Just glass with bullet holes in it. And honestly, if you want to know how they did something like this, perhaps they had a silenced weapon and shot the hell out of the glass early in the morning and then had the news teams ready to roll. You know, the police response. Perhaps the police blocked off this whole area earlier in the morning so they could do it, you know? These people have the power, the control, the authority, the means. Everyone who acts dumbfounded by how any of this could be pulled off doesn't have much of an imagination. It's not really that hard to see. They do all this stuff early in the morning. It's all a joke, Truth Seeker. Remember, it ended at 115. Freemasons in plural, 115. Killing, 115. And this is a story about the killing of 4 Marines. And Andy Burke, a lying asshole, broke it on Twitter at 8:39 in the morning. Before anybody probably got to work there. That whole strip mall probably opens at 9:10. Not hard to see. Oh, man. Come to gematrix.org if you want to try out some words, decode some other words yourself. There's a lot of names in here, a lot more I could decode, but I don't want to bore y'all. Also, check out my first video if you haven't already. It's all part of a big joke, Truth Seeker. This Boko Haram, the leader Mohammod Youssuf. Remember, these were the headlines from just yesterday, July 15th. At least 33 killed in 3 attacks in northeast Nigeria by Boko Haram, with that 39 gematria, 84 in simple English, connecting back to the United States. Obama's going to be in Nigeria in 10 days, is that right? Maybe not Nigeria, but he's going to one of the African nations. He's going to be there in 10 days. It'll be his 6th year, 6th month, 6th day in office when he goes to speak. Northeast Nigeria, where the attack took place, in northeast Nigeria, has gematria of 84 and 93, a lot like the numbers here, Boko Haram, you see? See how they riddle these stories? All gematria. Then they bring it out of Kano, Nigeria, with the gematria of 59, the number they love to code all over black people. Oh, Truth Seeker, it's so bad. Look at these images they give you. Do these guys look scary? Looks like this guy's trying to pose cute. Oh, man. Boko Haram. They look soft. Just like this guy. I mean, come on, Truth Seeker. CNN even said he used to be a Jew, converted to Islam and became radical. Oh, come on. Come on with all of it, Truth Seeker. It's so bad. Mohammod. Look at that spelling. It's just embarrassing. Mohammod Youssuf. It's like if you asked your 2nd grader to try to write his name. Dear Lord. Help me expose the hoax, Truth Seeker. And for those of you who are skeptics, watch my other videos. This stuff is a lock. After you watch 5 videos, you've probably seen enough. Alright, until next time, Truth Seeker. I forgot to show the nightly news coverage. Let's conclude with this right here.
A gunman opens fire on U.S. military personnel, killing 4 Marines, wounding several others, including a police officer.
We have 4 individuals who were killed, who are victims. We know that the shooter was killed at the scene as well. Also, 1 Chattanooga police officer was shot in the ankle and has been treated very well at Erlanger, as well as there were some other individuals who were shot.
Truth Seeker, for those of you who saw my The Message post, this is what I'm talking about. If we were a community and we were dedicated to changing this world right now, we would be getting on the tinfoil hat bus, we could call it that, and we could drive ourselves down to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we could protest in big numbers in front of this police department and bring some serious attention to this fraud. You know what I mean? It's going to take numbers, though, and commitment. And that's what we need to do. We need to shut this down every time it happens. And if we get enough awareness, we can just get people to spawn, the organizations we want to create in towns all over this nation. We could already have a local Chattanooga chapter. And the rest of us could be traveling there to back them up. You know what I mean? This is what needs to be done. We can take this world back if we act like the characters in Wizard of Oz. That movie was a taunt. I have a video on the Wizard of Oz. You should watch it if you haven't.
And have also been treated.
Shortly before 11 a.m., the shooter drove up to a military recruiting center in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where he pulled out a weapon and opened fire. He then headed to a nearby naval center where more shots were fired.
Well, obviously, we're going to look at the shooter. We're going to...
And notice how they give you one close-up image of shot glass with no footage. They want to scare the hell out of you, talk about all this ISIS, all this Boko Haram, and it's nothing but words and nonsensical pictures.
Do an intense look at him to see if what his connections are.
It is believed that the shooter acted alone, and investigators now believe that this was an act of domestic terrorism.
This is a sad day for the United States. These service members serve their country with pride, and they have been the victims of these shootings. We are
honestly, Truth Seeker, what do we need to do about people like this? Maybe this guy doesn't want to do this. Maybe he has no choice. But these people should step down and resign instead of go before us and lie. I'd honestly rather die than sell myself out like this and the rest of the nation. These people are selfish. Look at this little twerp in the background.
conducting this as an act of domestic terrorism. The FBI is now in charge of this investigation.
FBI and ATF have arrived and have declared it a federal crime scene.
Oh my goodness, Truth Seeker. And like I always say, I guarantee you they sync this up perfectly. United States of America with the S exception sums to 102. So does fuck you. And on September 11th, the total attack time from when the buildings were hit to when they collapsed was 102 minutes. Today's also Thursday, which has gematria of 116 or 911 upside down. And don't forget, they did this on the important Islamic holiday Ramadan. Disgusting stuff. Anytime you see ATF, FBI, those are the traitors, those are the treasonous ones, those are the sellouts, those are the deceivers, those are the real terrorists. All right, Truth Seekers, until next time.